Would you like to know how to turn this pile of scraps into these beautiful decals? Stick around. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Susan with Blue Vinyl Stickers, and today I am going to try to show you how to take this pile of scraps that everyone has and turn them into these beautiful usable decals. Now, everybody has a pile of scraps, and here at Blue Vinyl Stickers, we who have our share of scraps. Our scrap buckets do tend to fill up rather quickly, and we don't like to throw away usable sizes. Now, as you can see the grid on my background mat here, these are some rather larger pieces, some smaller pieces. We tend to save anything that's over an inch because it does come in handy occasionally, but most of our pieces are at least 2 inches in width. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create these beautiful decals, and we're going to be trimming down our vinyl to fit the grid on our mat. Now everybody, I didn't have a picture of the mat, but everybody has a mat, and you know it's got a 1 by 1 inch grid. And so what we're going to do is we are going to, let me find the picture, we are going to take our flower here, and I want to set it up so it fills up this whole screen but cuts in a 2-inch square. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to come over here. Now before I go any further, and just so everybody knows, just like normal, this is the Silhouette Business Edition. You can do this with the Silhouette Basic Edition. There's nothing I'm doing today that you would need any special level of software. I just want to make sure that you all know this is the Business Edition, and my buttons are going to be in different places than yours are, unless you use the Business Edition. Now, I want to put this flower in this 2-inch grid. So I'm going to come over here to my transform window, and that is usually looks like these barbells. So if you click on these barbells, it brings up the transform window. I'm going to click on the scale window, come over here, lock this, because this is basically a square design, a symmetrical design, and I want to make it 1.5, so 1.5. Hit my enter key, and it shrinks it down for me. I'm going to take it and put it up here. Now, this is where a lot of people get lost, is how do I get this design to cut on, where'd it go? Here. And make it all come out and make it not so it goes over these lines. How do I place my vinyl so the design will cut correctly? Very simple. You use your grid. Okay, very simple. So what you need to do is, let's back up a couple steps. We're going to come up here to our page setup, click on the grid, and you want your grid to be set up at 1-inch increments. For this particular exercise, we want 1-inch grids. We're not designing anything that we would need any smaller grids. So this is just a placement for the grid. So you want to have your divisions at 1 inch. This 1 inch matches the grid that is on your cutting mat. And yes, you will need a cutting mat, and it can be sticky, it can be not sticky, it doesn't matter. You just need your cutting mat. So let's go ahead and step you out a little bit so you can see everything that's here. I want to fill up this, this mat, but if I click on here and then say fill page, it will fill the page. Well, yeah, it filled the page, but it didn't fill it correctly. Okay, look closely to what it did. Okay, these lines are off. And remember what I said? The vinyl that we will be using is 2 inches. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to play and move around things. And you're thinking, oh, great, I'm going to have to move every single flower. Nope. Delete these. Now, this first row is exactly where I want it, which is great. So I'm going to highlight it, right mouse, and I'm going to group it. Come back over here to my replicate panel, and I am going to duplicate this a couple of times. Okay, and then I'm going to bring it down to the bottom and line it up. There's a 2-incher. There's a 2-incher. So now you see there's a 2-inch grid. So you just kind of ignore that one line that's in there. But there you go. You line it up. Right mouse click and say duplicate and put it up here. Then I want to make sure that all these are even, just because I like to see things even. So I'm going to come and align the centers. And since it was all grouped, they will align. And then I need to space them. And in spacing them, since I have this one where I want it and this where I want it, it will put them exactly where I want it. Now you see it's over a little bit on this line here. So what we're going to take, since it's all highlighted, just take our arrow key and slide it over a little bit. Okay. The idea is to basically put each flower in the middle of that 2-inch grid. Okay. So you can see these are a little off here. So we're going to highlight everything, right mouse click, say ungroup. And then I can take this line here that is bugging me and just slide it over a little bit. Okay. And the same thing with this. Highlight it all, just slide it over a little bit. Okay. And there you go. That is your grid setup. Then you're going to take and you're going to say send. You're going to use whatever cut settings that work for your machine. This is my settings for my machine. Yours can be totally different. Okay. This one cuts perfect for my machine. You just have to play with your machine. So don't go by what I have setting here. Go by what your settings are. Okay. So we're going to say this is all cut. And what it's going to do is, since this is set up in 2-inch increments, each one of those flowers is going to be cut in 2 inches. And this is what it looks like after it's cut. Every one of those is cut in between the 2 inches. Okay. And this is the scrap that's left over after I peel this off. So this is basically all you're just going to be pitching that. Okay. This is what you're going to be left with after it is weeded. And if you look carefully, let me pull this forward so you can see it. Okay. It's already got the transfer paper on it. And if you set your cut your transfer paper on the grid like it is, then it will line up with your flowers and your flowers will be centered on that grid. It's really no biggie if you are just having these little flowers because you're going to place them anywhere. But if you've got a line of text and you want it to be straight on whatever you're putting it on, it is crucial that your transfer paper also line up with your grid. Okay, it just takes a little practice, but you can get it. Okay, what you need to do is, you can see here, this is my favorite tool. This is an X-Acto knife. I went and cut in between each one of these lines. So each line here, I went and cut each one of those with the transfer tape. I cut the transfer tape. So cut it down. So cut in between each one of the lines. If you don't, you won't be able to pull this off of here. It will be a great big mess because all these pieces underneath here are individual, and that you can't pull them off without messing them up in one piece, because they're all individual and the tape is one. Just trust me, it doesn't work. So you have to cut them. And when you do cut them, you'll end up with everything looking just like this. Okay. From this point forward, you go ahead and trim up around the edges, cut them apart, and you will end up with your beautiful little cut flowers. So I hope that helped. I do know that was a little quick, but just remember, you can turn all these little scraps into these beautiful decals. Oops, I lost them. There you go. Okay, so you're going to turn these scraps into these beautiful usable decals, or whatever you want to place in that area. Just make sure that your vinyl is cut to match the grid on your mat. That's the secret. I hope that helped. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.